Hello, I am Anomaly. This will be a video about LS. In specific, I want to talk about kind of defending LS, more like trying to understand why there are so many dramas around LS are happening. It almost seems every month there is at least one drama that is like including him. So yeah, I want to talk about that. So I thought about this topic a lot in the past year or so, with the rise of LS and the following rise of LS criticism. Why are so many people against him? Like, I didn't understand at first. I was like, maybe because it's annoying to hear, I don't know. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought that there are two factors in play here. First is avant-garde takes on the game, which bring always confusion to the competitive space. And second is polarizing personality, which tends to make people either love him or hate him. So let's talk about the former first. It's not something necessarily related only to League of Legends or competition as a whole, but with new comes confusion and discussion everywhere. Is new good? Is new better than old? These are valid questions, but in reality what happens is that the question asked are more, how dare someone say that old is bad? Why do we need to change old if it's working? Like, everyone does it, so is it really that bad? So there is resistance, and from resistance comes conflict. We can see clear examples in art for this, like expressionism, spatialism, impressionism, and much more new famous and appreciated art forms now were despised and considered fluffed at the beginning. And if we want to take a close example, like not art, but technology, 5G is a new technology proved to be safe for humans. There are tests around there. It's not a big deal. It's not a controversial opinion to say this, but it does not stop people from despising it, thinking that it's part of a bigger plan, a bigger problem. Like everyone, there is always resistance to the new. So this is what happened at first, and what made it so hard for us to bloom in the space. I think his ideas were not welcomed. It was too nuanced. His ideas were too nuanced to really stick. So now we are instead in a different positions. LS is finally in the space and is taking over. His ideas are everywhere, and lots of people stand behind him. So at first, this creates a very different power dynamic, because at first a lot of people were standing with the old, thinking that old was better without understanding it. Instead now, I think that a lot of people are standing with LS, but without really understanding what LS is saying. So they are with the new without understanding. So the thing is, it's the same thing. They're just in different positions. It's the same people probably. So and that even creates more friction in the space. Instead, I want to talk about a good thing, that like a good example of what can happen with new. Last year, Mark Z made a video on Morello Leandris, at least the first part of the video, which is only what I'm going to talk about here. And the main aim of it was to explain that there is a discussion to be made on when either Leandris and Morello are the best option to buy as an item. Because at the time there was a big discussion with surrounding LS. LS was fighting for Leandris to be bought instead of Morello. And Mark C, his response kind of to this was there are situations where Morello is still better than Leandris. And on whatever boat you are right now, and if you think Leandris was overrated, if you think Morello was overrated, what's important here is that there was discussion, because that's the most important thing about new. It's not that it necessarily is good, but it brings a discussion in place. You start discussing on why it was we were building Morello all the time, but why were we doing it? And because of that, now you start understanding even more. Imagine Leandris was not the better option, but you wouldn't have known that if you didn't talk about it. And now you understand better both Leandris and Morello. So maybe even it wasn't that good, you understand there are some conditions in which it is better, so you want to buy that. So new is not always better, new is not always even good, but new gives perspective. Why is all good? Is all good? What's part of it are good? Where is it lacking? Can we improve it? Is new how to improve, or is there any other way? So yeah, I think that's what's most important. It's not new on its own. No, like new, it's important, but it's not necessarily always important that it's right, because that's not the whole point of it. It's to bring discussion into it and to understand more about even old and what can we do, and not only stagnate in old. Apart from the fact that LS many times has been right, so it strikes me it's strange when people still are saying the first time he says something new they're like, no, it's obviously wrong, when he has been right many times, not all the times but many times. So now let's talk about his persona, like the second reason why I think he is a controversial person. I don't think it's, as I said, controversial to say that LS is a striking figure. From his pure belief in his ideas to his sense of humor, many parts of him can create very distinct emotions in different spectators. But the more you think about it, the more it makes sense why he's like this. First of all, why does he believe a lot in his ideas? Because he studies a lot the game. Like, he really, really puts his heart into it. And when you are one of the only people in the world that it gives 10,000 hours of League of Legends a year, you start believing in yourself, you start believing in your ideas, because you know you give more time than others. So you start thinking, probably I know more than them, so you believe in that. That doesn't mean you're not open for discussion, that doesn't mean you're not able to say you're wrong, but you start in a position where you think you're right, and that's completely fine, it's completely understandable. But because of this, and because of his sense of humor, a lot of people treat him as a messiah on the good side, and a lot of people treat him as Satan on the other side. And obviously he's neither of those. Like, it's not perfect, he doesn't know everything about the game, it can be wrong, but at the same time he's not always wrong, and you understand why he's putting things in a certain way, because it's a scientist talking to you, it's someone that has a lot of knowledge, and so you shouldn't take their opinion as wrong just because you don't like the person. So but another reason why he says things the way he does, it's because if you are a soft-spoken person that does not push and fight for your ideas, you will not be able to break the resistance of the old guard, which I talked about before, like the people saying that new is bad and that old is better. If you don't fight for new, you will never ever break in and leave a mark. So you really have to fight, you have to put everything maybe in hyperbole so that people remember you. You need to really believe in yourself and fight for it. But and that's key to the discussion. He is not talking like this only because he completely believes in himself. He's talking like this because it's the best way to create a discussion, to make people think about it, and using hyperboles, people will remember it. And yeah, so when it was one of the only way to get the point across, using hyperboles, criticizing harshly influential pro player and their choices. All this do not always get the point perfectly across, but at least create discussion, people start to hear his ideas, and more people get influenced by it. And after hearing that, if you truly are interested in his ideas, you can go to his podcast when there is no need for pure entertainment, which is what is live streaming in a way, and there is no restriction in the length of the argument, which is on Twitter. That's why I think that it's better to watch podcasts, especially non-live podcasts, if there are still, because it's really, you don't think about entertainment, and you don't think about having the time to put forward a discussion. You always have that's the point of a podcast. So I wouldn't like to end up on a possible solution, but of course, it's obvious that if people are not doing it, they won't do it in the future. So, well, I'll just say, instead of creating a video or tweet where you're criticizing LS or even talking about it on stream, if you as a figure in the scene have such a strong opinion on his ideas, then you need to talk about it. Talk to him behind the scenes or like behind closed doors. So if you want to make it public, go on a podcast with him, talk to him, and make a video about him, with him. But don't. The point of a discussion is having a discussion from two parts, and a lot of people seem like they only want to give their own part, ignore the other part, which is what, like, it's blocking everything, and what seems like creates problem, because I think people are kind of scared to go on a podcast with LS because he talks a lot, and they think, and they are afraid to put to really fight for their ideas, because it's easier to put it on Twitter, it's easier to say on your stream, but it's harder to really fight on a podcast for your ideas, which is what people are not doing. So the only problem with this is that there are two examples of when this happened and it didn't really go very well, at least in my opinion, is that with both Loco and Veteran, when they discussed with LS on Listen Loco and Elitist United, or maybe it was a World Podcast with Thorin, I don't remember, LS started memeing their opinions on his stream afterwards, and their opinion became memes, and that kind of downplays the opinion of the other person, while of course it's obvious that LS watchers don't know even close how much both LS, Loco and Veteran know about the game, so their opinion shouldn't really count that much. So yeah, that was not great, let's put it like that. But I think now with Nemesis Crownshot, they're having very interesting discussions on stream, and he's saying that he's wrong sometimes. Like, it's not hard. Like, I think it can happen. I think there is no problem with it. So those are just two examples of things of when it happened and wasn't great, but there are of course examples where it happened and it was good. So it's not really a big deal, is it? So as an ending note, remember that conflict is not always unfruitful. You can always be open to new ideas and trust what you think. Everyone will fight for what they believe, but you need to know how to channel this conflict. You need to learn from it, not hiding your opinion and not letting anyone else in. And I think the League competitive scene has learned from this, and undoubtedly LS has left and is leaving still a big mark in it. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want more, like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you next time.